close your eyes not just to the light in the room, but to the noise of the world. You've carried so much today, so many words that weren't yours, so many glances you interpreted, so many expectations, spoken and unspoken, that you held like weights. Now let them fall. The Stoics believed that the night was not just for sleep, but for the soul to return to itself. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote by lamplight, not because he couldn't sleep, but because he needed to think, to cleanse his mind, to lay down not just his armor, but his judgments, his errors, his vanities. You may not rule an empire, but you rule something greater, your inner world. And tonight you are invited to return to it. Start with this. What disturbed me today, and why? This is not a question for guilt or regret. It is a gentle inquiry, a way of saying to yourself, let me not carry unexamined burdens into tomorrow. Did you react in anger? Did someone's words pierce more deeply than they should have? Did you judge someone harshly, maybe even yourself? Then breathe. The past is no longer in your hands, but what it left inside you that you can still work with. Seneca said, as is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters. Let that comfort you. Not everything you planned today unfolded as you wished. Some things were delayed. Others failed. A few left you disappointed. But were you good? Were you just? Did you try to be steady? If yes, even in a trembling way, then today was not wasted. And if not, tomorrow will welcome your improvement. That is the Stoic way. Not perfection, but progress. Not control of the world, but mastery of response. Let the weight go now. The opinions of others, let them dissolve. The need to prove, let it fall. The tightness in your chest from unsaid things, let it melt into the pillow. You are not your reputation. You are not your worries. You are not the version of yourself that others create in their minds. You are a soul in training, a student of reason, a walker of the inner path. And tonight your classroom is silence. Listen closely, not to me, but to the quiet between words. That is where your clarity lives. The Stoics believed that sleep was a kind of death, a practice in letting go. To rest well was to practice the art of dying with grace. Not to fear what comes, not to touch what fades, not to argue with time. You will wake tomorrow. But for now, let the ego rest. Let the striving pause. You have nothing to prove in this hour. No one is watching. No one is judging. There is no scoreboard in the dark. Only you and the quiet wisdom that begins to rise when the world finally stops demanding things of you. Tonight, we do not chase self-help. We do not demand change. We simply let the mind exhale its illusions. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply here, and here is enough. Marcus reminded himself often, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So what lives inside your mind right now? Scan it gently, like fingers across the strings of a harp. Where's their tension? Where's their shame? Where's their fear? Do not fight it. Do not correct it. Simply observe it. Then breathe into it. Like fog under sunlight, it will begin to lift. Not because you forced it to, but because you saw it without clinging. That is Stoicism at its root. Not denial, not suppression, but clear sight and calm hands. And in the quiet of the night, clarity comes easier. The noise of the day has passed. The mask you wear has loosened. You don't have to impress anyone here, not even yourself. You can simply return to that place within that says, I am not my mood. I'm not this moment. I am the one who observes both and chooses how to walk forward. That choice begins with rest, not avoidance, but restoration. The Stoics rose early, but they slept well, because a restless soul cannot serve justice. A tired mind cannot rule itself. So sleep not like someone escaping life, but like someone preparing to live it fully tomorrow. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts soften. Let your regrets dissolve into learning, your tension into wisdom. You have done enough. You are enough. And when the light of morning touches your face, you will rise, not agitated, not rushed, but clear, ready to begin again. Because the Stoic does not seek a life without flaw. He seeks a life examined. And that examination begins here, in the dark, in the stillness, in the quiet reclaiming of the self. Sleep, philosopher. Your mind is safe now. As the body begins to drift, the soul awakens. Not in noise, but in the soft discipline of remembering who you are when no one is watching. You gave yourself to the world today. You listened when you didn't want to. You tolerated what tested you. You held back words. You explained yourself. You adjusted. And now it's time to return not to who others expect you to be, but to the quiet clarity that exists beneath all the roles you wear. Let it all go now. The performance, the armor, the invisible effort you make just to feel safe in a world that rarely understands silence. The Stoics knew this tension well. Marcus Aurelius, in the heart of the imperial palace, surrounded by senators, soldiers, and sycophants, still wrote to himself like a monk in exile. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about others, unless you are doing so with reference to some common good. He knew that attention is fickle, that approval is rented, and that the soul pays too high a price for something that disappears in the wind. So tonight we practice a gentle renunciation. We let go of the need to be liked. We don't hate anyone. We don't withdraw from life. We simply stop handing others the keys to our peace. You are not the version of yourself that lives in someone else's imagination. You're not a mirror for their moods. You're not a character in their play. You are a living soul, breathing, choosing, unfolding, worthy of freedom from the emotional debt we accrue by trying to be acceptable to everyone. Seneca wrote, "What progress have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." Can you say that yet? Not in the daytime, when you're busy pleasing, but here in the dark? Can you rest in your own company? Can you be with yourself without editing, without escape? Because that's where Stoicism becomes real. Not in quotes, but in solitude. And tonight is the best place to practice. So ask, whose opinion am I carrying that no longer serves me? Who did I try to impress today at the cost of my peace? What part of me still believes I must perform to be worthy? There's no judgment here, only awareness. And in that awareness, a quiet kind of freedom begins to emerge. You begin to realize that what others think of you is none of your business. That your life is not a public spectacle. That your worth is not found in echo chambers, algorithms, or gossip. It is found in how you live when no one is watching. It is found in your principles applied quietly. It is found in the promises you keep to yourself even when it's inconvenient. The Stoic practices this invisibility, not because he fears the world, but because he refuses to be enslaved by it. And that practice begins here, not on a battlefield, not in a courtroom, not on social media, but in your room alone, breathing, releasing. Tonight, release the false burdens, the need to be understood, the fear of being misunderstood, the endless defense of your actions to people who are never really listening. Let them think what they want. You have no obligation to correct every opinion. You owe no one your reputation. You owe only this, to live in alignment with what is right, to sleep without deception in your chest, to close your eyes knowing that today you chose virtue over noise. That is more than enough. And if you didn't, if you stumbled, if you performed, if you clung too tightly to others' approval, then forgive yourself and let it go. That too is Stoicism, not harsh judgment, but compassionate clarity. Tomorrow you will do better. Tonight you will rest, because the soul that rests well rises strong. And the man or woman who no longer needs the approval of the crowd walks through life with the soft footsteps of a free person. So sleep, not to escape the world, but to remember you were never its servant. You are your own, and that's enough. As you lie still, body relaxing further, thoughts beginning to float like clouds over a quiet evening sky, let this question settle into you. What did I want today that I didn't get? A reply? A reward? A recognition? A breakthrough? Something you believed would complete the story of the day. Something that, if it had arrived, would have made everything feel worth it. Now ask, why did I need it? The Stoics taught that suffering often comes not from pain itself, but from disordered desire, from wanting things too much, from expecting the world to match the map inside your mind. You may have thought, if only I get this result, I'll feel calm. If they just respond kindly, I'll sleep easier. But the wise know, relying on anything outside your control is a form of slavery. Epictetus said it plainly, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Desire must be trained, not eliminated, not suppressed, but brought into harmony with reality. And that harmony begins at night, because when the body rests, the ego quiets, and your real cravings begin to reveal themselves. Look at them gently, not with shame, but with honesty. Ask yourself, what were you really chasing today? Not the email, not the number, not the smile, but the feeling underneath. The sense of worth, the illusion of safety, the fragile peace that comes when things go your way. And now, in this still hour, without those things, can you still be at peace? Can you be whole, even though you didn't get what you wanted? That is the test of the Stoic, not whether he succeeds, but whether he remains unmoved when success is delayed. Not whether he's praised, but whether his soul stays steady when ignored. What you desire reveals where you are vulnerable. And the sacred work of the night is to examine and release those desires, so they no longer rule you. You stop waiting for the perfect time to live wisely. You begin now. Breathe in, fully aware that this moment will never return. Breathe out, grateful that you were awake enough to notice it. Nothing in this day was permanent. Not your success, not your failure, not your sadness, not even your joy. So rest, not in attachment, but in grace. Release the day, not because it was perfect, but because it is over. No edits, no rebins, no do-overs, only learning, only softness, only the next step forward. If you treated someone poorly, apologize. If you missed an opportunity, show up tomorrow. If you wasted time, start again. But do not lie awake mourning what cannot be changed. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Don't waste this hour in regret. Use it to restore yourself. Reconnect with what matters. Remember that life is not made of big achievements, but of small choices repeated daily. And tonight, you are making a sacred one. To end the day in clarity. Sleep with a calm mind. Accept impermanence, not as loss, but as direction. Because when you know it can all end, you stop pretending you have forever. You stop putting off becoming the person you admire. You stop tolerating mediocrity in your thoughts. You begin living, not urgently, but deeply. Not recklessly, but intentionally. So sleep now, not to escape death, but to train for it. Not in fear, but in freedom. And if you wake tomorrow, let that be a blessing, not an entitlement. And if you don't, let this moment be enough. Let your last thoughts be steady. Let your heart be clear. Let your soul be light. This is memento mori, not to terrify you, but to purify you, because only the soul that accepts death can fully embrace life. So sleep, philosopher. The day has ended. Let it end within you too. Release the fantasy that life owes you ease. Release the illusion that others must always treat you well. Release the myth that fairness is guaranteed. Replace it with this: I will face whatever comes with virtue. I will hold steady in the wind, and I will not be surprised by the nature of life. This is the highest form of strength, not muscles, not control, not power, but inner readiness. So sleep now, not like someone avoiding life, but like someone preparing to meet it, fully awake, fully trained, fully free. Even now, as your breath slows and your body softens into the rhythm of the night, the world is still moving somewhere. Someone is shouting in traffic. Someone is gossiping about a friend. Someone is panicking over tomorrow's meeting. But not you. You have chosen stillness, and that choice makes you powerful in a way few understand. Because in a world of instant reaction, anger, outrage, impulsive words, emotional storms, silence has become a superpower. The Stoics knew this, and they trained it like a muscle. When someone insulted Epictetus, he didn't argue. He said, "You don't know the half of it. I am far worse than you say," not out of self-hatred, but out of control. Because to be calm when provoked is not weakness. It is mastery. And that mastery starts now, in your sleep. Yes, even here. Because sleep is when your emotional backlog finally comes to the surface. All the things you didn't say, all the things that annoyed you, all the stories you replayed in your head on a loop. If you do not empty that cup before bed, it will tip over in your dreams, or worse, into tomorrow. So tonight, ask yourself, who or what did I allow to control my mood today? Not just what angered you, but what tugged at your peace. A comment, a look, a headline, a delay, a memory. Now realize, none of those things live inside you. They happen outside, but you let them in. The Stoic doesn't pretend emotions don't exist. He simply refuses to be ruled by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Think about that. The emotion is real, but the judgment that gives it power, that's yours. And that means you can take it back. So what if tonight you did just that? What if you revoked your judgments? What if you looked at each emotional wound and whispered, "You do not own me"? Not with bitterness, not with denial, but with gentle detachment. This is what the Stoic cultivates, the tranquil mind. Not empty, not numb, but unshakable, like a deep lake in the mountains. A rock may splash the surface, but the depths remain undisturbed. And that's the kind of stillness you are training tonight. You are not simply going to sleep. You are returning to your center. You are clearing the noise. You are choosing again what enters, what stays, what defines you. Tomorrow the world will try again. Someone will test your patience. A delay will test your composure. An insult will test your self-image. But you will be ready, not by gritting your teeth, but by remembering this moment, this peace, this breath, this choice to remain still. And when others ask why you don't react like you used to, why you don't explode or retreat or chase approval, you'll smile. Not with pride, but with clarity, because you know something they don't. That every emotion is a visitor, not a king. That every insult is a mirror, not a master. That every disruption is a test, not of strength, but of presence. So sleep now, not just as rest, but as practice. Practice for the morning. Practice for the noise. Practice for becoming unshakable. Your heart is calm. Your mind is free. Your soul is steady. And nothing can disturb the stillness you build here. This is the last breath of the day, not the last you will ever take, though it could be, and that's what gives it meaning. You've listened, you've released, you've reflected, Now only one thing remains: to let go completely. Not out of exhaustion, not out of escape, but out of choice, out of power. Because the Stoic knows, the soul must be emptied before it can be refilled. There's a quiet moment before sleep when the whole day seems to stand still behind your eyes, not to haunt you, but to offer a gift, a lesson, a chance to end things properly. You don't need to carry the entire story of today into tomorrow. You don't need to rewrite the scenes. You don't need to hold on to the roles you played or the ones others assigned you. You only need to say, that day is over. I have lived it. I have learned from it. Now I release it. Because what you do with this final moment will decide how you begin the next one. If you sleep in bitterness, you rise with tension. If you sleep in denial, you rise in confusion. But if you sleep in clarity, you rise in strength. This is the Stoic rebirth. It happens not once in a lifetime, but every night. Every night is an ending. Every sleep, a letting go. And every morning, a new chance to practice, to live, to govern the self more wisely. So what will you carry across that threshold? Let be light. Leave behind the clutter. Leave behind the fear. Leave behind the identity built on noise. And bring only this: a mind trained in reason, a heart disciplined by virtue, a soul aligned with nature. Nothing else is needed. Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to be conscious, to live like someone who knows life is short, but long enough for wisdom. You've listened to your emotions. You've examined your attachments. You've surrendered your judgments. You've trained in advance. You've chosen peace over reaction. Now, choose this final thing: to trust. Trust that the practice will work. Trust that you don't need to control everything. Trust that your worth does not depend on approval or outcomes or applause. Trust that you, whoever you are right now, in this breath, are enough. Because you are. Not because you said the right things. Not because you avoided pain. Not because you conquered every fear. But because you stayed present. Because you tried. Because you returned again and again to your core. The Stoic doesn't promise that life will be easy. He promises that it can be lived well if you govern yourself first. And that government begins with rest. So surrender now, not to weakness, but to wisdom. Let the body lie still. Let the mind soften. Let the soul float, not in a fantasy, but into stillness. Let this moment be the closing of a door, and tomorrow you will open a new one, with a calmer mind, a freer heart, and a soul untouched by the chaos of others. Sleep well, philosopher. You've earned it.